I mean, you look at some of the biggest companies in the States are insurance companies, but who've done the same thing. Jake from State Farm, Flo from Progressive, even the freaking Gecko from Geico, right? Like they've humanized their brands by having a single face of the brand that's a human,
Or anthropomorphized animal, yeah.
Or an animal. Exactly.
But as a character, it has like personality. There's interaction on a level that people can relate to. It's not just a business to business thing. There's always people involved. And I think it's, and then it also really helps us when people can see how what the business cares about is actually reflected by the people, or like is supported by the people. Your business's success depends on relationships with customers, relationships with employees, and relationships with stakeholders. What do they all have in common? They're all human, because no matter if your business is B2B or B2C, it's really H to H, human to human. Welcome to the Human Connection Podcast. I'm your host, Karl Pontau. Each week, I'll bring you stories, insights, and practical advice from experts that you can apply to your growing company and daily life. This week, I'm excited to connect with Jake Isham. Jake is a filmmaker-turned-brand strategist and creative director who helps founders and entrepreneurs turn their expertise into authority through powerful storytelling. Over the past decade, he has worked with more than 150 entrepreneurs and companies, including Grant Cardone, Paul Way, 511 Tactical, and Travis Matthew, creating content that's generated over 1 billion views online. Jake focuses on blending his background in filmmaking with deep marketing strategy, with creating digital shows and social media content for CEOs and entrepreneurs to cut through the noise by crafting content that builds trust, drives visibility, and creates true omnipresence across platforms. Whether scaling a founder-led brand or launching a thought leadership show, Jake brings a unique creative lens and proven playbooks that turn storytelling into growth. Congrats on turning storytelling into growth, and welcome to the Human Connection Podcast.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, I'm really excited to talk with you about how companies and entrepreneurs can better leverage media and storytelling, because it seems like these days in the age of AI that there's so much noise, so much content out there and most of it is, to put it mildly, pretty bad. And so it's got to be harder than ever for companies to actually get their stuff to stand out. So how do you help companies make content that actually stands out?
Totally. Well, the first kind of, you could say, mindset principle that I kind of try to talk to when I work with entrepreneurs and brands is getting the right views. Not all views are created equal. If you had 1 million views, but none of them are going to ever become clients, what's the point of having 1 million views? But if you have, 10 views, which is, you could say, nothing from social media standards, but all 10 of those people are going to buy from you and are customers from you. And you're, let's say each customer is worth $1,000. That's $100,000 right there, right? $10,000 right there, whatever. I'm not a math expert. I'm a filmmaker, but that's my point. Like there's a great story from Alex Hormozy, who talks about a woman that he met who had an Instagram page with a couple hundred followers. I think it was like 700 followers. And she spoke on a very specific topic to a very specific niche. Her videos would get, a couple hundred views or something like that, but she was making $1 million off of it.
Wow.
So, and that was her only lead gen channel, was just making content on Instagram, but it spoke directly to her avatar. It spoke directly to her audience, and her audience instantly knew it. But the audience is not massive, but it was the right audience. So that's where you could say, after understanding, okay, not all views are created equal. Now, let's just speak to your audience. And if you can speak directly to them and knowing what to say, how to say it, you're going to win.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a misconception, or that a lot of companies, when they look at the dashboard, they all expect the numbers to keep going up when it comes to views and stuff, but they don't really, especially when the kind of the influencer economy was first getting started. People think, oh man, these people have tons of followers, those must be the best influencers to partner with and stuff. But if it's a bunch of followers that aren't ever going to buy from that person, no matter what they say. They're just not the right target audience. They're not, it's never going to convert, or it's going to be a lot harder to get them to convert than it just having a huge number on a dashboard is not a real solution. And so I think there's that myth of quantity over quality when it comes to lead gen, that, I mean, you obviously need some quantity, but if they're not converting, you're still in the same issue than when you started, which is you're not making enough sales, enough conversion. So I think having that focus on, let's create them, and also like just, it was how easy it is for people to reach a wide audience. People think, oh, we can get all these people, but the super diluted message isn't going to have the same impact as a really focused, evocative one that gets the best people to buy from you sooner than just the generic message would.
Yeah. And so one of the big things I use when I work, especially with like entrepreneurs on their personal brand, is I love leveraging and using digital shows, video podcasts, just like this one, to build that human connection, because I look at it as kind of a three-prong approach in terms of guests, because I work with a lot of kind of B2B entrepreneurs, and so much of it is people do business with people they know and people they trust. So why not create a show? And this is where I kind of take it a little bit further than you could just say a traditional video podcast, where, I have a client, for example, who loves golf, and he is a commercial real estate broker, which is so relationship dependent. And he works a lot in like the triple net lease space and with franchisee owners and et cetera, that type of niche of commercial real estate. And so he's going to go golfing anyways. He's going to network anyways. He's going to go golfing and network anyways. And he's going to then create content anyways. So we married it all together, where we basically created a show called Fairways and Founders, in which he goes plays 9 holes with either A, prospect, B, referral partner, or C, an industry leader. And each of those 3 different type of archetypes, you could say, or individuals, have a value add, and it just and build content around it. And so then you're able to leverage that content across social media, which is just going to drive, ideally, more of those 3 archetypes into your universe.
Yeah, and it also, I like that the Fairways and Founders, whatever it's called, because it has a lot more like that human personal touch, and it's not just a standard like business podcast. It has more of a spin to it, and it has a little more of that personal touch where you're actually getting to know the people behind it, and beyond just their CV. It's like, oh, he enjoys golf, and you're gonna experience, like, I'm sure what happens when it's a good shot versus misses a putt, and like some of that emotion and that actual real personality comes through, that's not going through the overly filtered, like approved by legal, approved by PR, like approved by marketing messaging that people think is going to work, when really it's so watered down and generic that no one ever really resonates with it.
Well, exactly. And you become really real to the people watching it. They really know you. And again, which is why I love this show, is because, people do business with people they know and trust. And if they can know and trust you before they even meet you, which is the power of content, and that's the power of creating the right content, is to create that in your audience. It's not to get them to become a buyer. It's just so that they get to know you and trust you. Then your lead funnels after are all about the converting. But the first thing is, you just got to get them to know you, which is attention. And so you have to do something slightly interesting or some value add, which is either education, entertainment, or inspiration. And then from there, you get them to trust you. So you create something that's valuable enough that they want to keep coming back to. Trust is built over time. It's not a one-time coffee meeting.
Yeah, I think the big mistake a lot of companies have made, and I harp on this all the time, is that they've tried to skip like the no and the like and just get to that purchasing decision right away, or faster than we're able to build those relationships on like a human level. Because it takes us time there's a limit to how fast our brains build trust with people, and then we can build relationships. You don't meet someone on a first date and ask them to marry you, because that'd just be crazy. But so many businesses, their approach to marketing is, hey, here's this like initial social media thing. Like now they ask for all these like buy and like sign up for something or buy something or try to do like some sort of basically buying indicator, or just giving money right away, like pitch slapping and stuff. That's way earlier than the recipient is ready for it. And so it just comes across as rude or crazy or both. And so they just end up not getting any sort of results, end up actually hurting their brand over time, because they're just known as one of those constantly trying to sell people thing. They're not really adding any value before they're asking for something back. And so I think it's the content, when it has that value add plus some personality and the humanity of the creator behind it, then that's where you really get something that's special, that people are looking for and actually will keep coming back to, because they're feeling like they're connecting and belonging to an audience or a community, and they're rarely feel that way, at least not strongly, when it comes to the content that businesses create.
100%. 100%. And whether, I've been talking a lot more about, B2B brands, but the B2C is the same idea. You're creating that brand where people are like, oh, I like that brand. I like their messaging. I like what they stand for. And it becomes human, even if it's a clothing brand or it's a SaaS or whatever it might be. There's that aspect of, ooh, I like what they stand for. I like who they are, and I like what they represent. That's who I am. I want to be part of that group.
Yeah, there's definitely that element of identity that is key for building trust, because that means how we make decisions, how we feel safe is if we're around people that we identify with, that we feel like we belong with. And so much of what gets people to that level of trust is seeing the real people, the humanity behind the content creators or the host. And it's what often gets watered down or diluted when companies try and get too corporate with their messaging. They get too businessy and it doesn't sound like a human, and we can't relate to it. We can't identify with it.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you can hear the purring, but my cat Cosmo decided to join us for this episode. So yeah, it's something that I think companies need to bring back, or like it's one of the real value adds of having, even if it's like a big B2B company, having employees that are champions, or people that are creating content that are showing up not as the overly like homogenized messaging that's kind of reading off a transcript, but having someone who shows up who's
real,
and embodies the values that the company cares about, because that's how you really get people to connect with a brand, when they see that there's people behind it, not just a corporation.
And and it's being willing to just keep putting it out there, over time. I mean, you look at some of the biggest companies in the States are insurance companies, but who've done the same thing. Jake from State Farm, Flo from Progressive, even the freaking Gecko from Geico, right? Like, they've humanized their brands by having a single face of the brand that's a human,
Or anthropomorphized animal, yeah.
Or an animal. Exactly.
But as a character, it has like personality. There's interaction on a level that people can relate to. It's not just a business to business thing. There's always people involved. And I think it's, and then it also really helps us when people can see how what the business cares about is actually reflected by the people, or like is supported by the people, and having that real, not just this is something that our brand says we care about in our brand guide and on the poster in the break room, but it's actually what the brand is living.
Yeah.
And the experience people are having, which is also unfortunately really rare these days. But content's a great way to show how that actually, and having people like content creators that are kind of representatives of the brand, that aren't just like part of the PR or marketing, but actual like people doing the actual work, that for clients and stuff, having them be in content that shows, hey, I'm connected to this brand because of what the values it embodies and that are actually ones that the people care about. And so there's this sense of authenticity that comes through in the content that doesn't come through if it's just, again, like a PR statement or something on the website that are just going to overly produce.
Yeah, you really, again, know and trust who this is, you know? I mean, I think one of the two of the entrepreneurs that I think have the strongest personal brands, one was Steve Jobs. You know, you knew who he was, you knew what he did from, you know, a public persona. And now, regardless of politics, you know, is, I think, Elon Musk, but just as an entrepreneur and what he's been able to do through his personal brand in terms of building the company he's built is, I think, very impressive just from an entrepreneurial standpoint, taking politics aside.
Yeah, I think it's not just one person at a company that really makes like the entire, sometimes it's a whole one person behind the brand if it's a smaller company, but like, I think what really, if it's all only like the CEO, unless you're selling to other CEOs, it's gonna be hard for people sometimes to feel like they're connecting with them. But so if you can have someone that's like, who's in your content that is resonating with the audience of the people that you're trying to create content for, I think that's a key success strategy, is having as many people in the content that your audience can relate to. Because having like the CEO is like in charge of the vision and a lot of the brand in that way. Although I know lately it's been, CEOs usually have to be more cautious about what they do, because if they do something too outlandish, it can hurt the stock. So
Sure.
one of my previous guests, Ashley Faust, was talking about in her book about having more of the staff or like employees or like other people besides the CEO in the content. Not only allows them to be more like the thought leaders and kind of pushing the ideas forward in whatever industry in, but also allows either the users or the buyers of your product or service someone they can really relate to, because it's someone who's on like kind of their experience level or their like career tier level. So if you have more like VPs or like other people that are like the same level as the users of your software or whatever, the more of those people they can see in the content, the more likely, okay, this is something that I can feel like is speaking to me, that understands me, and I can connect with it more, rather than it's just a CEO.
Yeah, I mean, it all comes down to, in my opinion, just storytelling. You know, even the top level CEO to, you know, whoever, it's that ability to communicate well to that audience. You know, there's definitely, in what you were just saying, there's definitely a big trend. There was UGC, which is user generated content, for those who don't know the acronym, which was, you know, people who are basically content creators who didn't have a big following, but would just make content for brands. And now there's another big trend called EGC, employee generated content, where it's exactly what you were just saying, you know, employees of the company making promotional content, marketing content, recruitment content for the brand to help, again, gain more attention. Now this could just be just straight on the brand's social media. It could be on their social media, but it's definitely a powerful tool in terms of just storytelling, getting it out there, and just, again, creating that trust.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for connecting with me today, Jake. If you enjoyed this episode of the Human Connection Podcast, please leave a review, and share it. If you'd like to connect with myself or Jake, check out the links in the show notes. And remember, no matter if your business is B2B or B2C, it's really H to H, human to human. Happy connecting.